Hello and welcome to the Quiver channel. I'm Jason, your host. And firstly, we've got to do a disclaimer. We're going to talk about some pretty horrific things. It's going to be shocking. There could be tears. Life as we know it may never be the same. For the past couple of months, I've been theory crafting a project. A computer project for AI. This would be a computer that could handle all the network attached storage, that could handle being a Plex, doing Plex, that could provide access to everything I use throughout the house. Even talking about it makes me sad. I have had many nights where I have been unable to sleep because of this subject. But the main part of this project was a permanent AI assistant and companion for the house. Now, let me just explain. You cannot use, especially in Europe and the UK, you cannot use stuff like ChatGPT-4 or any of the other commercial grade ones that are out there. And the reason is this. Due to the Data Protection Act in the UK and Europe, you pretty much have to wipe the conversations that you have with the AI, which means you can't form a relationship, it can't learn about you, it can't retain information about you. And that is a core need. To create a personal assistant and companion for me, for the house, it has got to be able to know all about my mental illnesses, my challenges, my coping strategies, everything that makes me me, so that every day when I talk to it, I aren't talking to a blank slate. It's a cornerstone of actual relationship. So we started off looking at normal PCs. We started off looking at that PC down there and thinking, what if we upgraded it? What if we put a 4090 in there? And we very soon realised that the limitations, because for those that don't know about large language models, and trust me, it wasn't clickbait, we will be getting to the horrific part soon, and it is horrific. I'm not kidding. It is horrific. It is horrific. So just bear with me. I'm laying the groundwork here. So the idea of setting that up, maybe with I could put 4 4090s in, something like that. But I would have to change it from a normal PC, which can't handle that kind of PCI Express lanes, to something like a Threadripper or a Xeon or a server. We went through all this theory crafting with people on my server, back and forth, trying everything from a PowerEdge, Dell server, a rack grade server, a rack setup with dual CPUs and masses of space in that. But limitations were everywhere. Power limitation. This thing's going to be turned on all the time. I even looked at a system online that was available on eBay that had 4 3090s in it, which would provide a massive amount of virtual RAM, not virtual RAM, video RAM. LLMs, large language models, exist best when they're live inside VRAM. And Some of the best models are around 70 billion, which is about 30, 40, 50, 60 gigabytes in size. So they've got to run within that model. Now you can compress them, but when you compress them down to work in something like a single 4090, they get dumber. They make mistakes easier. It's the quantitative system that you use to make it work, make a really big model work within a small system. So it's not ideal for a personal assistant with what I want to do. So we tried everything. We contacted different hardware suppliers, did lots of research, and everything I tried to put together, from a Threadripper with 4 4090s in, that was the top, which was way too expensive. I mean, we're talking massively too expensive, to an older version of a work server with like 4 3090s in. Of course, power usage, bad. You can get 3090s for about 500, 600 pounds now, second hand, so that's not bad. But the power usage, too much, because this is going to be on all the time. And the heat as well. All of these things that we tried to look at, we found that there was this, it was either too expensive, it was either too loud, which would mean buying a acoustic U2 rack mount system that costs almost £1,000 on its own, or it would just take too much power. So too expensive, too loud, too much power needed to run it. We were driving our heads up against a wall for the entire last. We've been theory crafting everything. I've been trying everything system. The problem with a desktop PC is it is very limited. It doesn't have enough PCI Express lanes to be able to have multiple GPUs. Now you can share LLMs over multiple GPUs, which means if you've got like 3 3090s, you've got 72 gigabytes in VRAM in total, which you can fit a really powerful LLM in. But couldn't work. So believe me, I've tried every different kind of combination to try and create the ideal one. And then a friend of mine, said to me, basically, have you heard of something called the Mac Studio? It's horrific. It really is, and I'm not joking. The thought of me having an Apple product in my house, other than an iPhone, which I use for the camera system because it's so good, which we're recording on this now. It's truly horrific. I'm not kidding. It's fucking horrific to me. I'm a PC gamer. I hate the closed systems of the Apple system. It's an anathema to me. I have never liked it. I hate everything about their system. And I thought this person was joking. I really did. I thought Mac Studio, what the fuck's that? It's a little box thing. It's a little thing about that size, by that size, by that size. And I'm thinking, now you're going into silly territory. And then I looked at the hardware. You see, Macs use their own type of chip, whereas everything else except ARM, well, the Mac one is based on an ARM, but that's a different kettle of fish. So apart from those, every single fucking chip in every computer is built on the old x86 model. Iterated, improved, but it's based on the 1970s, 1980s model of a chip that does a certain thing in a certain amount of things. Apple decided to create its own line of chips. And I am not kidding about how uncomfortable this is for me. It really is fucking uncomfortable, the idea of this. But the Mac Studio M2 Ultra, it has what's called unified memory. Extremely fast unified memory. When it comes to LLMs, it's about the amount of virtual memory the amount of memory you've got on your graphics cards, because normal PC memory just cannot cut it, cannot do it, too slow. So GDDR6 type things, memory, it's about how much memory you have and how much memory bandwidth, how much can be accessed at once. So he showed me the spec of it, and I started doing some research into it. First of all, it idles at 11 watts. That's almost less than a Raspberry Pi. The thing idles at 11 watts and pretty much maxes out at under 200 watts. That's under one single 3090. And in fact, a single 3090 when active will draw 450, 550 watts. And that's not adding on the rest of the computer system to it. So it won the race in the power straight away. I could plug this into my solar panels in the backyard and have it run infinitely and never actually use power from the house. Less power than a fucking LED bulb in this room, which is 14 watts. So it won that. And so I'm looking at the system, I'm looking at this, and then the VRAM. So we look at the VRAM. By default, this system, well, if you buy the top tier version of this system, it will have 192 gigabytes of unified memory. 192 gigabytes. Remember, the best we've got as a home user, really, without spending absolutely silly money, is a 24 gigabyte 4090. So 192 gigabytes of unified memory, and you can use 75% of that by default for the GPU. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, fuck, people have run 180 billion LLM models on the Mac Studio. So I'm looking at it and thinking, oh shit, what can I do? I don't want to have a Mac Studio. I don't want to have a Mac product and everything else. But I look at it. It's a little box like this. And then I look at the sound profile. And literally this thing has, well, you know what Apple is like with the technology. The damn thing runs silent, even when you're maxing it out on Cinebench for a 30-minute run. It is literally one of the quietest computers you can get. So not only will this system idle and run at full thingy at less power than any system I could put together for double the money, triple the money. It will have more VRAM than I could get hold of for double or triple the money. I would literally need, well, put it this way, a H100 NVIDIA card on eBay, second-hand, goes for £35,000, and that's just one card. That's and that's the 80 gigabyte card. Yeah. So over this last month or couple of weeks since I've actually found about the Mac Studio, I have spent every minute trying to find something so that I don't have to get the Mac Studio. I have gone through freaking every weird design, weird choice that could happen with it. And I failed. I've talked to some of the smartest people I know. I mean, I'm top tier when it comes to planning and building computer systems and stuff like that. And AI stuff. And this little unit, which will be about that big, that will idle at 11 watts and be completely silent and can run on solar panels, and has let's remember the rest of the spec of the damn fucking thing, because Jason, you wanted to do a NAS as well. Yes, I did want to fucking do a NAS. Yes, I did want to do a NAS. This comes with 6 Thunderbolt 4 USB connectors, type connectors, which are like the USB-C but the Thunderbolt 4. Now, let's put this in perspective. Each one of those Thunderbolt 4, 6 of the connectors, six ports, 4 on the back, 2 on the front, are built to do 40 gigabits bandwidth. I will be plugging an enclosure in with about 40 terabytes of mechanical drives. I will be plugging in 4 through an actual dock, 4 terabyte SSDs through one of them because it doesn't need the bandwidth or anything else, and I will be able to connect a few more 4 terabyte M2s to it. I'm going to end up with about, in total, about 50 terabytes of space on that fucker. And with its SNB protocols and its ability to run Plex and its ability to run pretty much everything, it'll even fucking run games and run them pretty damn quick. I mean, it's a Mac, and there is a lot of Mac compatible games out there now, but also you can do a wrapper with something like Wine and create like an equivalent of Wine that will make it so that you can run games. If I wanted to run a game on a Mac, it's a Mac. I don't want to touch a Mac. I have no choice. For LLMs, inference models, unless you spend 20, 30, 40, 50,000 pounds. Even my friend who hates Macs as much as me is considering it as well. It's, how can we put it? Really fucking depressing, and I mean that. I am not kidding about how horrific this is to me. I have spent every spare minute I've got trying to theory fucking craft something that will come even 30% close to the potential of this thing. People literally buy the Mac Studio to run LLMs. And most of the posts that you see about them is, yeah, I hate Mac, but I feel like I'm betraying everything that I stand for when it computers. I prefer Android because it's not a closed system. I prefer PCs because they're not a closed system. But even with the closed system of it, it still will work with large language models, and you can set up an IP on it and connect to it via all your computers. And even I'm going to have an app for it so I can connect to it via my phone. Oh, this is why I haven't wanted to talk about it. I'm in the final stage of now of working all this out and that, and I'm spending more time trying to figure out ways that I won't get a Mac Studio. Literally, my basket in Amazon and my PC Ports pick has so many different things, and I have different PowerEdge server, refurbished PowerEdge server companies, and lots of builds with them, and nothing, absolutely nothing out there comes close to it. Unless you've got a huge amount of money, and even then, you are going to be using upwards of 2,000 watts power to run 413, and you still won't have the same VRAM amount. It hurts my brain. It hurts my brain. And you know what the really crazy thing is? Just give me a sec. Okay, my brain was just thinking into something else, so I'll have to talk about that later. But there's a chance, I'm not quite sure, that if I needed to, I could use the Thunderbolt ports on a Mac Studio to connect my eGPU, and I know that NVIDIA cards are not supported, but I would probably test out AMD cards because they used to be supported. I don't know whether that's changed completely. It may have, but the thing is, 6 fully functioning Thunderbolt 4 connectors, so that's something, but it wouldn't be something that I'm really needing for it. So I'm still having problems getting my head around the idea of having a Mac in my house. It goes against everything, seriously, it goes against everything that my brain loves about computers. But I can't lie to myself. The specifications of it are amazing. Compared to what else is out there, there is nothing that can do what I want to do without mortgaging the house. So no, it wasn't clickbait. I am actually fucking horrified about this. It bothers me. It's keeping me awake at night because I don't like the Apple ecosystem, the walled garden approach. I hate all of that. And what do we do? So this is Jason for the Queber channel.